Oh, yes, you can't expect nicer weather than this, ladies and gentlemen. We are almost out of September, moving into the month of October. One of the big events of every year is the induction ceremony of the Mynderse Academy Sports Hall of Fame that's coming up in a couple of weeks. A couple of my friends are in the studio to check it out on the couch and in the chair. John Capacci and Rod Verkey joined us for the show today to talk about this year's inductees. And we certainly welcome you to Weber this week here on a Monday, the 29th of September, 2014. And I don't know, I'll get Rod and John's opinion on weather, but I'll tell you right now, I kind of like this weather, guys. We've had like 7 or 8 days, and John's good to see you again. And what about this weather trend? You kind of liked it, don't you? Straight 70s every day. Perfect.
It's been fantastic. It's about 10 days of this, and I can't ever remember a stretch like this at the end of September.
Of course, John and myself have been longtime friends. We used to spend a lot of time at our classroom called Marinos.
Yes.
And, of course, this gentleman needs no introduction, Rod Verkey, longtime buddy of mine. And Rod and John make up a couple of members of the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame Committee. Just a quick summary. A few years ago, up until a few years ago, a lot of the schools in the area, Clyde, Savannah, Lyons, Geneva, Mid-Lakes, had Hall of Fames. They did induction ceremonies, some every year, some every other year. And Rod, I think Rod and maybe a few members of his committee decided that, Mynderse Academy, with a great tradition of sports, having graduated barely in 1963, Johnny a couple years younger than that, older than that, earlier out, I should say. But in all seriousness, without bragging, since we all are Mynderse graduates that are obviously part of Finger Lakes One, Jim Senecropa, the owner, there's not really many schools that have a more traditional and more outstanding resume of sports than Mynderse Academy. And that's not being braggadocious. I think, John, you would agree. Mynderse has had a lot of great sports teams.
There's no question about that, Harold. Yeah. And I always thought there was a gap without having a Hall of Fame, and I was very proud to be a part of it when it was originally initiated by Verk. But yeah, our tradition here is so great, and we're excited about being able to recognize so many wonderful athletes that have participated at Mynderse, and most of them gone on to and better, playing, and we're very excited about being able to honor these people, and to watch them come back. And a lot of them live away, and have their town say, "Job well done." So it's really fun to be part of it.
Oh yeah, and Rod, of course, we've talked about it, but for our viewers, Rod Verkey and John Capacci, obviously Mynderse Academy graduates. We certainly recognize Rod. You found this need to get some people together and say, hey, we should honor the folks that have done a phenomenal field, whether it be on the gridiron, basketball court, or not even from a sports, but from a coaching standpoint, from a contribution standpoint. First off, congratulations on thinking of that and doing this, because I know that you are proud and it's a lot of work involved. But give us a view of the thinking you had, and also spend a couple minutes and run over the committee, because I think what I fail to do is recognize we have you two guys in the studio doing my show today, but there are a lot of people behind the scenes that do a phenomenal job. So spend a couple minutes, if you would, Rod. Tell us about the thought process of why you wanted to get this going in the first place, and talk about your committee.
Well, first of all, let me do the committee. I had it open to this page right here anyway, because my memory's not that good.
No.
I spent a lot of time with these people, but I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
All right.
We have Lisa Carousel Anderson. She's a Hall of Fame member. John Capacci. You always need to have a lawyer on whatever you do. Ted Novak, Liz Beck, Tony Ferrara, John Nicholson, Pete Wormuth, and myself. And while I got these guys out, we have the best committee in New York State. They do outstanding stuff. They are conscientious. They go the extra step. And I think that's the reason that we have a Hall of Fame that's, I would say, a lot better than average. The reason we got into this thing, or I did anyway, I was at Lyons High School for my coaching career, most of it, and we had just started a Hall of Fame over there. They never had one either. And as you read in the paper, you see in Clyde and Waterloo, and everybody has one. It is not fair to those people that have dedicated a lot of time and effort in their careers and not be recognized. So having been on that one, came to the Seneca Falls committee and wanted to start one for Seneca Falls. I didn't necessarily want to do it, but I didn't see people standing up in line to do it.
Exactly.
And it was very nice because we got to handpick a committee, and everybody on that committee has a job, and they do it very well. And not for nothing, but I think ours is one of the outstanding ones for some of the things that we do that other people don't.
I had an opportunity to go to a couple of these, and last couple of years I've been tied up going out of town. It seems to be that weekend, but we're certainly going to try to be home this year. I think one thing that, John, being a member of the committee, you walk the streets after the induction ceremony of a particular year. I'm sure people come up to you and say, hey, when's this person going to get in the Hall of Fame? And then obviously if they haven't sent in their information for consideration, I guess you probably get asked that quite a bit as a member.
Yes, we do. Individually, myself, and I know others do. The first thing we say is, did you nominate them?
Bingo, yeah.
We can't do anything without nominations.
Sure.
And they go, oh, well, I said, well, we can't do anything without nominations. Once we get the nomination, then we send out all the requests for information to the candidate, and they send it back to us, and then we've got a body of work.
Exactly.
One of the hardest things for us is if somebody gets nominated that is maybe an older person back in the 40s and 50s and even early 60s, if they don't have family someplace, who fills out the information? That's not our job.
Right.
Is to go and, I'll give you a perfect example. Abe Van Cleef. When's Abe Van Cleef going to go in? Well, A, has he been nominated? And B, do we have anything to rely on? So that's the hard part. People have to nominate people, and we have to have that information. And we do the best we can. Let's put it that way.
Rod, same question. I'm sure you get asked after these ceremonies, walking down the street, going in a grocery store. Hey, how about this gentleman? How about this lady? How come they're not in?
It happens.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yep.
Because at least people are paying attention.
Interest.
Yes. And they may have nominated somebody or may not, or just have a casual, geez, why didn't this guy get in? Usually, and this year was no different. This is our 5th year. And at our induction voting meeting, it takes a long time.
I bet it does.
And after 5 years, it should be kind of thinning out a little bit, and you should have some obvious people. Well, it's not. Well, there was 8 or 9 people that we could have put in this year, and we had to vote on them and go through them again and vote on them. And we have a very good process. And when we vote and we do the final one, it's unanimous. Everybody is on the same page, and they go through it. If I'm on the street and someone asks me, usually it's a case of not if they're going to get in.
When.
But when. And we're also a little different because we only bring in 5 people.
I was just going to comment about that. I think that's great. I do.
I think some other Hall of Fames have put in
big numbers.
Large numbers. And then if you put in 10 or 12 people after 10 years, that's 120 people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people. So I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Now, as John pointed out, the body work comes back to the committee. You review it. You go out, outline the information. You research the information to be sure that it's credible. Certainly, and then your committee sits down for the final, as you mentioned, Rod, the induction. Does it have to be unanimous for everybody, or can it be one person saying, I don't believe so, but the other 7 or 8 say they're in?
During the process, it's never unanimous.
Okay, right.
Because you got to vote back and forth, and there's different errors and so forth. But when we leave that day,
everybody's on the same page.
They are unanimous.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, John Capacci and Rod Verkey, a couple of my buddies, are in the house today on the show. Of course, Mynderse Academy Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony going to be held at the beautiful New York Chiropractic College. And again, had the opportunity to be there a couple of times. October 12th, just to give you an idea, 4 to 6 o'clock will be the reception. Fantastic. And at 6:30, the induction ceremony will begin. One thing I'll say about my friend Rod Verkey is that he is anal about timing and getting things rolling. I got to give you credit on that. You do get upset when things don't click. I like that.
A lot of people just say I'm anal.
I could say a lot of things, too, since I play cards with him every 2 weeks, but that's another case. He's walking around with an extra 50 on him because I show up at his poker table. But in all seriousness, I think it's an outstanding event. The one thing to have a ceremony, and I've done a lot of banquets in my time. I've had the chance to MC a lot of banquets in my career. I got to tell you, folks, the choice of the NYCC was fabulous by the MA committee, really fabulous. That is a spectacular place to hold a ceremony. It's just gorgeous. I mean, it's just big, it's bright, it's got everything working for you. So fantastic. Tickets, let's talk about the tickets before we go over some of the individuals going to get into it. What about tickets now, and where can they get them in case somebody's watching us now? I'd like to go to it.
If anybody has any questions or anything, my name and is always in the paper for that stuff. But usually we sell them through the high school front office. And if you need information, they're all online.
Okay.
And we put that in the paper a few times also.
All right, so tickets are still available.
And we want to get them, if you get your ticket before next Tuesday or Wednesday, that would be great.
All right, so there you go. We're going to talk about who's coming in a couple of weeks. The Mynderse Academy Athletic Hall of Fame. It should be a lot of fun, and we'll continue to talk to John Capacci and Rod Verkey here on Weber This Week. Let's now take a break and hear from our great sponsors to make this show possible.
Eagle Lake National Bank. Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora. A fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. PA Liquor, Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her great team will find that right spirit for you every time. Tell Amy the dog sent you. Steve Wadhams, Wadhams Enterprises, your employer of choice. Proud supporter of this show and local athletics. Bob and Leslie Oman, owners of the Oman Theater in Lyons, as well as the Newark Pilots, a minor league baseball team with a major league ballpark. Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, Waterloo, best mott sticks around, where you can enjoy a drink and some laughs. SenecaFallsCountryClub.com, awesome 18-hole layout, offering a 12-month payment plan. Home of the toughest par 4 in central New York. Wilson Press, WPress.com. Seneca Falls, Rich Rickey, my good friend, and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Rich Rickey, Wilson Press, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week.
And we are back. Okay, this is the dog with you here on a Monday, the 29th of September. Beautiful day out, another great, gorgeous day. We have a couple of my old buddies in the house this morning talking about the Mynderse Academy Hall of Fame, which comes up on October 12th. Showtime begins at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the New York Chiropractic College. If you're interested, contact Rod or contact Mynderse Academy. They'll get you the tickets. And, okay, Rod, let's turn it over to you, and let's, if you can, briefly run down who will be coming in as a new inductee, and give us a couple of quick comments. We'll get John to say a couple things, too.
Okay, and one of the nice things about it, and you mentioned, was the college.
Yeah.
That is a good place to have it.
Oh.
We have the reception upstairs. You have your food upstairs. And for the event, you don't have to worry about people clearing dishes and going through all that stuff. You leave it there, you go downstairs, you sit in a comfortable seat, and we have a stage and lighting and sounds. And we have the DVDs and the movies. And it just makes a much better
Fantastic. Yeah.
site than a lot of people have.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Well, first thing I want to talk about is our Title IX. We added this 2 years ago, mostly because of Pete Wormuth. He brought this thing up, and I'd like to say hi to Pete. He's been a little under the weather, and we wish him speedy recovery.
Certainly do.
But we investigated this, and we had some nominations for women that were not in sports, that were visibly accounted for. So before 1972, there was no official women's sports. After the Title IX Act, 72, all that changed. They had to have equal teams, equal coaches, all that stuff. So we thought we had to have something in there to cover this aspect of people. We put that in. It's gone very well. This year it's Diana Stacklehouse Panucci. And she has outstanding credentials. She was president of the GAA. She played all kind of play days and sports, and a very good athlete, a very worthy person to be getting in.
Now, her quiet husband, John's not going to introduce her, is he?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Because that could be an hour. Okay, good. Okay.
But he is speaking later.
Oh, good.
He is speaking later.
Okay.
So we feel very proud about the Title IX thing. I can't
awesome.
think of another Hall of Fame that has a segment of their thing like we do.
I think it's excellent.
Next, we have our contributors, and these are people that may not necessarily have participated in sports, but they have helped the community, they have helped sports, they've been assistants. They do things that every community should have people that do these things. And we got 2 great candidates this year that are in. And of course, that's Liz Beck and Warren Speed Wormuth. Liz, if you know Liz at all, she's in every organization there is. The Run for Life. She does our proofreading for the Hall of Fame. Zumba. Many different things that she does. She's a great candidate and a great person to have on your committee.
Oh, she's excellent.
She's outstanding. Speed Wormuth was on the coaching staff for the 2 undefeated, untied, unscored upon football teams. In 38 and 46, he was an assistant coach on those. And back in those times, if you were a regular teacher, you couldn't be a head coach. New York State said you had to be in phys ed to be a head coach.
Okay.
So he was an assistant for a long time, worked with the track program, and he's getting also as a contributor this year.
Good.
So now we get down to our inductees, and I said we only put in 5 a year. So these people have been, they've gone through their credentials, and they've come out to be picked to get in this year. The first is Gary Bullis, class of 1979, and his dad is also getting in this year as a coach of one of our baseball teams. And I remember Gary playing. He was outstanding.
Outstanding, yeah.
Outstanding. Then he went on in college, and he went to Cornell and played football and wrestled for him. And to play 2 sports in college is pretty good. Pretty good. He was outstanding in both. Colonel Dominic Carasillo went to West Point, and that in itself is deserves a lot of accolades. That's not an easy thing to do.
No.
But he went down there, played sports, played more than one sport, has gone on and distinguished himself in the Army. He has more awards and stuff, and those will be coming out, by the way, probably today or tomorrow in the Finger Lakes Times.
Great.
We put all the biographies in there so everybody will be able to read through those. Next, we have a coach, Al Henry. He's from Long Island, and those of you that knew Al, he was
I did, yep.
He was quite a colorful man.
He was.
And I feel very fortunate that my kids got to play for him. You know, you can always say how you judge a coach if you have your kids and you want them to play for him.
Exactly.
Well, I did. And I got to see him play in college also. He was a senior when I was a freshman. And we have Krista Rushak Long, a very versatile athlete, won letters in 5 different sports in high school, went on to go to West Point again, which is very good, and played basketball at West Point. And then the best looking guy getting in, because he looks like his dad, that would be my son Andrew, or Duke.
Duke.
Kind of a versatile athlete, played 3 sports in high school, played 2 sports in college. And I've always said that academically, Duke and I were very much the same, because he had a 97 average, and I had a 79 average. So it kind of was, we were very similar. And then the 52, 53, and 54 baseball teams are getting in. And people might say, what are you doing? You're putting in 3 teams. Well, as you research the teams, and we have to do that a lot on our own, because many teams get nominated, but then you got to check out how they are in relationship to other teams. So we looked at the baseball teams. Early 60s, they won the sectionals. They won them after that. The 52 team was the first team ever to win a sectional title in Seneca Falls history, which is noteworthy. They won the league, they won the section. The 53 team won the sectionals also, but they were undefeated. So now you got those 2, and how do you pick between those 2?
Yeah.
And then the 54 team comes along, and they win the sectionals, and they become the first three-peat in Mynderse Academy history.
How do you ignore that?
So we can't pick one of those and leave one out, so we put in all three. So that's basically our class today without going into them too much in depth. And all three of those teams had three different coaches, which is amazing. We had Bob Masterson, Howie Scott, and Ray Bullis.
Well, John, certainly you've just heard the list of what your committee has worked on. Certainly you got to be proud to be a part of this and to know that these are obviously very worthy candidates that are going to get excited in a couple of weeks.
There's no question, Harold, how qualified and capable these people are. One of the things that I'm particularly excited about for this year is that we have two graduates of West Point, Krista and Dom Carcello, that just getting into those schools is difficult enough, let alone playing one or two sports, as Verk said. I'm particularly excited about being able to reward some of our veterans, and they're both veterans. The Al Henry, of course, was married to Sharon Brady, who my wife roomed with at Cortland for a couple of years.
Okay.
And so I've known Al and Sharon for a long time, and I was very excited to see him be able to be recognized. Lacrosse has come a long way in Seneca Falls, and a lot of it is due to Al Henry and what he established here. But this particular class, without, I mean, Duke, Verkey, obviously, Gary Bullis, I mean, these are...
Need no introduction.
Exactly. And again, like Rod, I'm particularly pleased that we were able to institute the Title IX stuff. As you remember, when we were in high school, the cheerleaders were the athletes, and the ladies did not get an opportunity at all to participate in any sort of sports activities.
And to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, and so being able to recognize, you know, Hazel Reynolds, are one of our first inductees, Diana. I'm glad we're able to do this and give them some recognition that maybe they wouldn't otherwise ever receive. We're proud to have them.
Well, the Mynderse Academy 2014 Hall of Fame induction ceremony held at the New York Chiropractic College. It is really a special event, folks, and it's in a beautiful facility. It's coming up on October the 12th. Again, starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, obviously 4 to 6. Induction ceremony will begin at 6:30, and my friend Rod is a stickler for making sure times are kept because in the 2 years that I've been able to attend it, I noticed that some of the people introducing them, I know Verk has a, I think, 5-minute rule, Verk? Is that your 5-minute rule for inductions?
In general, yes.
Okay, well, sometimes you need a new John Cameron Swayze watch because that 5 goes to 10 and that 10 goes to 15. And I'm not picking on any induction, but I mean, people get enthused about introducing, and I know Verk's out there probably going or in the back of the stage. Let's go. But
we have
it's
a couple things on that. First of all, it's going to be 6:15.
Okay.
This is an early edition right here, so it's going to be.
He's going to move it at 6:15.
It's going to be 6:15. And we also have a thing that a couple people have gone a little longer, we'll say, than their time is, but. The philosophy is also you're there for the event.
I understand.
And some things need to be said.
Sure.
And it's okay. I mean, you may not like it and you may have to sit there a few more minutes, but it's okay.
Well, I understand my good friend and all of our good friends, Karts Carcillo, holds the world record of the Mynderse Academy induction ceremonies. I think he went 1 hour and 12. I know that his brother, the barber, who I go to, and I'll be going there tomorrow, indicated that even he was thinking about leaving.
Well, we almost yanked him. He got on a little roll there, so we let him go.
Oh, it's a good time, folks, and it's really paying homage. And again, it's ironic that all 4 of us in the studio this morning are Mynderse graduates, but certainly not disparaging and talking about all the other schools do a wonderful job. And I'm so glad that Rod thought of the idea of generating some enthusiasm to put ours on because it's important. And again, Verk talked about a 79 average. I got out in 63, and Johnny will get a kick out of this. My brother Bob was a senior when I was a freshman, and Ronnie was a sophomore. And I took an English course. I think it was English, and I got that. Back then they had 65 as the average, passing. And I got 4 red numbers on 4 tests, 57, 58, 56, 59. And the teacher asked me to stay after the bell. And he says, "You having a problem?" I said, and of course, my stepfather Joe never let us out during the school night, so you think at least I could find a way to open up a book. I was more concerned about sneaking out the back door to go to Marino's. Anyways, the teacher sat to me and said, "What's your problem?" I said, "I don't know. Do you go out and ramble every night?" I said, "No, I can't get out of the house." "Well, do you think I could open up a book?" I said, "I get bored with this stuff. It bores me." And so she looked at me. She says, "By the way, Mr. Weber, I'm not sure you're going to pass this grade unless you pick up the pace. And furthermore, you're not related to Bob and Ronnie, are you?" Classic line. I'll never forget as long as I live. And I went home that night, John, sat with my mom, Bride. Of course, she's in heaven, and Joe's in heaven. They're all in heaven. And I remember telling my mother at dinner, I said, "Mom, am I related to these 2 guys?" Because they were taking regents. They were 96, 95 average. Even though I might add, John, you may remember, Bob kind of flubbed it second year at Bonaventure. They said, "See ya."
I do remember
He had
that.
the baby blue marine bags at the door at 18 Spring. and he had like a 96.7 average leaving Mynderse. So those were the good old days. Folks, we want to certainly urge you to attend the 2014 induction ceremony for the Hall of Fame at Mynderse Academy. We got a couple, maybe 2 more minutes. Let's talk about getting off this for just a second. Johnny, speaking of the Notre Dame Irish, I know you and me have been longtime friends. You're, of course, a graduate of Notre Dame. You were a little sickened, no doubt, about the Irish and this cheating scandal. I'm sure some of you and the alumni obviously must have just sat up and said, "What's going on?" Is that something that even floored you?
We still don't know what's going on. They haven't had any hearings. The only information that I've been able to glean is that the president of the university said there was a student who was briefly employed by the athletic department who may have assisted these kids in either homework or whatever.
Sure.
And they were concerned that that may be viewed as an unwarranted benefit or something.
Okay.
But the alumni are saying, you either got proof or you don't. It's been 6 weeks.
Yep.
Let's make up our mind here. You've held these kids out.
Right.
Goldson just plain cheated. And they kicked him out.
Sure.
And he came back.
Yeah.
They're not sure, actually, what's going on here.
Let me ask you, switching subjects, Northwestern's decision to try to unionize the college athletes. No vote has been taken. No decision has been announced as far as the outcome of that vote. Your opinion on the college athletes, as you know and as you followed many of your years of your life, are they treated fairly? I know they get a 4-year deal, they get 4-year education, room and board, all that good stuff, food and everything else. Are they paid enough? A lot of the judges around the country are starting to say, wait a minute, the NCAA is making billions of dollars. Your opinion on that?
I think what's happening with even the vote on a union is that there has to be some tweaking for the athletes.
Maybe a stipend at the end of the month?
Well, something along those lines, maybe some airfares to let them go home. Even when I was in college, they used to get what they called in those days meal or laundry money. They'd get like $10, and but I'll defer to Verk. But I mean, a lot of these kids literally have nothing.
Sure.
And I think there should be some adjustment. They're going to make the changes. They're going to give them medical coverage. They're going to do something with some sort of additional benefit to let them live halfway like students.
Didn't the judge just rule, and maybe you being a lawyer would know this, didn't they not say the likeness of the of pictures of college athletes now can be sold by the athlete and make a benefit cash in after they leave school?
I'm not sure of that.
I
Harold,
did see a ruling come out relative to
video games.
Yeah, no, okay, video games.
Yeah, like EA Sports would use college players'
Bingo.
likenesses. They'd have their numbers, and
they can benefit now from that.
And Ed O'Bannon, former UCLA basketball player, sued EA Sports and won.
Okay, I knew there was something.
I just don't think that courtrooms are the places to be resolving these things. I think the colleges are very aware these days of several things that need to be adjusted. They've lowered the practice times. They've done other things. Part of the trouble with the stipend is so many teams. You know, you've got all the women's teams, all the teams that don't generate any money. Do you give them an equal amount?
Good point.
Do you adjust them? I don't know. But I think it will be done.
Rod, since we're almost out of time, we've talked about this in other shows that you've been in for. You being a former outstanding athlete yourself, universities treat the kids good enough today, or should it be changed? NCAA hogging all the cash, and what's going on in your opinion?
I've been having this conversation with my buddy from Binghamton for 2 years. He's in favor of paying the athletes. I'm not.
Okay.
And not many people realize, but the athletes do get stipends, and they get so much per month, and it's more than $10. And it's their choice what they choose to do with it. So if they get $1,600 a month, if they want to go out and buy 3 watches instead of going out, you know, and having dinner or whatever, that's up to them. But they do get a stipend, and if you're from out of the country, your stipend is higher. So it's not like they go there and they don't have anything and they can't go out with their buddies and spend a little bit of money. I think the college gives them exposure, and how much money would you have to pay somebody to give you that exposure? Without that exposure, they're not going to go on and make millions of dollars either. So I think it's a give and take. And as John said, there's too many logistics involved to pay athletes, and how would you do it, and who would get the money, and would the tennis team get it, and the badminton team, and do you have to pay them unemployment, income tax? It's logistically a nightmare, I think.
Harold, can I ask Rod one question? Is this $1,600 you've mentioned, is that a payback? Is it a loan?
No, it's money that they have that they've incorporated in their scholarships, so that these kids that come here don't get just room, board, and books. So they do get it.
I was honestly unaware of that. Harold, were you aware of that?
The first I heard of it,
I was unaware also, but Smitty, his son coaches at Baylor. I was talking with him, and he said, no, these kids do get a stipend. And they've had several people from outside the country, and their stipend is higher.
Wow.
So I think where some of the problem comes in is when you're selling jerseys with a kid's name on it, and the school or the NCAA is making, you know, millions of dollars off of jersey sales, and the kid doesn't get anything. And that's the other problem. You got girls on the girls lacrosse team, and you got guys on the men's soccer team, and then you got the quarterback who's going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. So obviously
there's different levels.
There's different levels of it. It is very confusing, and you do have to appreciate the platform that some of these athletes are given before they can go to the next level. It's tough, but it's also disappointing because I love college sports, and you can just feel it changing, you know, over the past decade, getting
That's right.
The other thing is, what about the lower level Division I schools?
Bingo,
That, let's say, University of Buffalo.
Right.
Okay, they're not generating 100,000 people in the stadium every week. They've got almost as many sports as Ohio State and Southern Cal and Stanford. What do they do? Is it one brush?
Well, it's interesting, and we got to get you guys back. Certainly talking about the Hall of Fame, but also bring you back, talk about sports topics. We got a million things to talk about. You guys would be great to have come back. Hope you would come back sometime, John.
Thanks, Harold.
By the way, folks, as we wrap up the show, I understand there's certain United States golfers that are going to get new shirts today because those ones yesterday got kind of choked up. What's up with the Ryder Cup? Are we ever going to win one, folks? Come on, Gag City, USA, 16.5 to 11.5. Close the door. What is it with this American Ryder Cup?
The Europeans played like a team, even though they're not even countrymen. They're different countries. Germans, Spaniards on the same team. You can see them play together as a team. The Americans seem a little disconnected, a little individual.
Anybody watching golf channels like I do most every day, check out Phil Mickelson throwing Tom Watson under the bus during the night, saying that he should have followed Paul Azinger's pod the way he set up his teams in 2008, the last time they won. Amazing. USA just, I'm sorry, folks, I'm an American, obviously, but they were gagging it big time over the weekend. It's too bad. Well, everybody, you have a great week.
Doug, one last thing. The
ahead.
Hall of Fame induction ceremony, if you can't make it that night to NYCC, it's going to be live webcast on Finger Lakes
Perfect.
1. You can watch it on your phone, your tablet, or your computer, but it should be appointment viewing for any former Mynderse grad that lives out of town.
I agree.
So look for the links on the front page of Finger Lakes 1. You can watch it on the YouTube app on your smartphone or your smart television, and you'll really enjoy watching that.
Yep.
Jim, let me just say, excuse me, that we've had very good feedback from people who are not able to come back. In fact, last year I was in Georgia watching my grandkids, and I loved watching it from Atlanta.
That's great.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
But we've gotten an awful lot of feedback, haven't we, Verk?
That's been great.
And very positive.
That's awesome.
I was going to, in our Hall of Fame, we have them from California and Florida and North Carolina, and if they can't make it here, which we always try to do, they can do that. And the other thing is, we have a record of it. And there's other people that have come up to us and said, boy, we wish we had the first 2 years on there also, because now we have a record and we can make different films and DVDs and stuff out of it, and it's there for people to see. So thanks to Jimmy and Finger Lakes 1, and it's really, really has been good.
Gentlemen, we do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, coming up on October the 12th, New York Chiropractic College, the 2014 Mynderse Academy Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Should be a lot of fun. Folks, check out and get your tickets right now because they're going to go fast. Thanks to John Capacci and Rod Verkey, guys. Thank you for joining us. And until next week we kind of got an open slot right now. We're trying to get somebody from the St. Anthony's Festival to come in and talk about the reshuffling of their fine event. We'll let you know during the course of the week whether we find somebody or whether we go to another
Somebody
topic.
will be here, Doug.
Somebody will be here. All right, talking about the reshuffling. They had the unfortunate Labor Day monsoons up there at the fields, and but give those people credit. It's something I always look forward to every year, going to the St. Anthony's Festival, along with Mary and getting those giblets. Hey, it's coming up Columbus Day weekend.
Harold, one thing. Our event is now Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
As opposed to Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
And several years ago it came up that the Women's Hall of Fame annual dinner was going to be the same night as ours. And I raised my hand at the meeting and said, I don't think that we are going to get into a contest with the Women's Hall of Fame over who has Saturday night at the chiropractic college. No, thank you. And everybody agreed. So that's how we went to Saturday for the cocktail party and Sunday for the dinner.
That's right.
It was a lot of fun.
All right, speaking for John Capacci, my longtime friend Rod Verkey, I'll see Rod this coming Sunday playing poker again, folks, and it's embarrassing. I need to go to the bank and borrow some money. Take care, everybody. That's the Weber this week on the 29th of September, 2014. That's a look at our show.
FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1.
FingerLakes1.com